I'm gonna get it in just a second.
Happy Tuesday, guys.
It's Tuesday.
And we are running a couple minutes late as usual, so
Wouldn't have it any other way.
right.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So today we have Mr. Ryan Speltz on with us, and he likes to go by the kick butt mortgage guy. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is my mortgage side of the business name for sure.
Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. So I think we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to leave the floor over to you. I was with Lindsay before you came on. I was telling him I was excited to hear your guys's, banter and discussion about, mortgage and all the fun stuff. So,
Yeah.
Ryan, tell us, who you are, what you do. I know you do a lot of stuff, how you got into the business, and whatever else you want to share with us.
No problem. Yeah. So Ryan Speltz, I'm originally from a small town in Minnesota of about 500 people. Lots of small town experiences to speak from. But moved after college to the big city of Louisville, Kentucky. So I like to say it was actually 1,000 times bigger than my hometown, which is a lot of fun to conceptualize in my brain. But loved Louisville. We lived there for 4.5 years and then moved to St. Petersburg, Florida. And then I became a mortgage broker while I was in Kentucky, and really just enjoyed the aspect of, kind of chasing the business and the whole process of everything. And then, now I've been in the mortgage business now for almost a decade, which is, for me, I'm still, 34. So I'm still conceptualizing the fact that like I could do anything for 10 years besides play baseball. But yeah, that's kind of where the mortgage journey comes from. And then I've also, I do a lot of podcasting on the side, and I've got 2 different podcasts. One's really real estate focused and around developing your core purpose and being able to communicate that to people. And communication is a big thing for me, as well as the other side is a men's based podcast called One Man's Journey. And that podcast is more for directly at men, kind of helping them recognize that a lot of the stuff that we're going through in life, we're not alone going through it. And, obviously that one doesn't necessarily fit in with when I'm on a podcast with 2 women, but that's okay.
It does.
You have to tell people though.
Yeah, exactly. So I enjoy that one. Those are kind of passion projects right now that may develop into something in the future. But the real estate one is really based around the concept of reconnecting to your purpose and your clients. And I know that we, as real estate agents and lenders, that's what we got to do, is really just stay connected. And a lot of people forget about that piece, while we're consistently chasing the transaction. And so that's kind of been my focus for 2024, is like, how do I connect with my agents, my clients, my other loan officers, and how do I bring them into that aspect of, once you get to that point of realizing how you can create those things, how you can create those connections, the business gets a lot easier instead of trying to chase all the time. So that's kind of my mission for 24.
Serve instead of sell.
Exactly. Yeah. And the more I podcast, the more I recognize that, like, that's how everybody wants to be connected with. And the gurus at the top are just, that's not the message being put out there, right? It's like, make the calls, chase the thing, do the thing. And it's just, we get stuck in this constant rotation of that, and not being able to break out of that and really like connect to our client on a different level. That, people are always talking about, like, well, where did that come from? Where did the business come from? And they connect, or they say, well, it was a past client, or it was a sphere of influence, or, there's my circle. Why are those all not the same thing?
Right.
Like, why do those not intersect at some point? Because if you're not getting to that level, you're just not connecting, and you're just going to consistently be chasing the next one instead of serving the one you've already worked with. So
there was something somebody said to me, and I think it was Mike Constantine, which he'll be on our show in a few weeks. He was saying something about how some agents, and I think it would go for mortgage lenders and brokers as well, like how you treat your clients. Are you a relational person or you transactional, and there is a big difference between,
Huge difference.
you just the transactional standpoint is you're just a client, you're just a number, move on, like you said, to the next one. But relation goes to what you're saying, how everything should be together and really nurture your clients. And I mean, majority of the time they become your friends and you enjoy talking to them. And
Yeah, you get their whole entire life story.
Mhm.
If they have children and families and things that they're going through, and I mean, to not have some type of connection with your client is,
I
I
don't know
think
how.
like I couldn't do that because that's not the personality that I have. But there are some out there that they really don't have any type of connection, and once that transaction is over, then there's no communication whatsoever.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you say some, and arguably the statistics say it's the majority. And
That's great.
in 2023, 49% of real estate agents only close 0 or 1 transaction. And if you're only closing 1 transaction a year, there's not a chance that you're becoming connected. And
Right.
it's because people aren't seeing, like, they just consistently talk about ROI and what can I buy and what comes in and how can I have the phone ringing for me, and really just developing relationships and being able to communicate effectively with those people and talk more in stories. And that's where people want to connect with. They don't give a shit that you sold a house last week. They don't care. They want to know what the story of the client is, right? Like, they want to know not what you did. Like, as a loan officer in this is, and Lindsay, you understand this, is like, there's so many people posting out there, oh, I got them the best interest rate. Cool. That won't be the same scenario for the next client. I can promise you that.
Right.
Because we just don't know where it's going. What did you help them overcome? Like, stop trying to be Batman. Start being Robin and let the client be Batman. Like, you're not the hero in the story. Like, help them become their own hero and the hero for their family.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think that's what's going to set people apart. Like you said, there was, that percentage of agents who closed from 1 to 3 transactions last year. Like, that is mind blowing to me. Because personally, we all have our slow seasons and everything. Absolutely. Some agents are very seasoned, or they're just, rock stars and they have a consistent flow coming. But I just don't know, for me, if I was in that 1 to 3, I'd be like, okay, what am I doing wrong? I have to change something. And I don't really know where I was going with this, but
no, it's I mean,
You're still stuck with
on the grand scale,
right?
With what you were saying, the grand scale is that's what the industry is it needs a change, and there's a gap, and people aren't recognizing the gap because they're consistently being told, like, make calls to FSBOs, make calls to expires, and that's how you get business. And there's no follow up on the other side of, like, you also have to do this and develop a relationship. This is not a business where it's like, put $100 in, get $1,000 out. But that's entirely what's being sold to everyone at every turn. I do not envy the real estate agent in the fact that you probably get 100 calls a week from either mortgage brokers, insurance agents chasing your business, title companies chasing your business. Like, you're the target of the chase. And so people are just consistently being sold. And that, can get into the mind of a lot of those people that don't really have a path. And then the other side of it is some of these models, of real estate brokerages, the entire concept is go recruit as many as you can and don't train at all, right? Like, that's the idea. And so that's part of the push in the wrong direction as well. And oftentimes with agents, the comparison that I'm making is, like, if you're only posting on social media, posting about listings that are for sale or listings that you have, or like just the houses, like, you're competing with some pretty big companies directly, because that's all you're providing as your service is, look, I have all these houses that are for sale. Well, there's already a pretty big company out there that kind of owns the market share on, like, looking that up. And there's also a system that you guys have access to, being realtors, that produces that information. So what value are you actually supplying? And it becomes such a problem to not actually have a value proposition as an agent. and a
Yeah.
lender. Really.
And I think too, people want to see like, who are you? You know, like if you're just posting your business, like people don't ever get to see who you are. What do you like to do? Do you have anything in common with this person? You know, I think people like to see all of it put together.
Yeah.
And I think where I was going with my last little rant before I got sidetracked is, you know, I think that in the coming between last year and even this year, I think there's going to be a lot more people that lead the industry in general, whether you're on the lending side or the real estate side or the insurance side. I think a lot of people are feeling that they're doing something and it's not as easy as it was back in 2020 and 2021 where, you know, rates were low and everything was going absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's tough to see that shift and really like adapt that shift and be able to you know, move through it. And again, the connection piece is the main thing, because when you truly connect to why you do what you do, everything else kind of takes care of itself, and the result focus disappears.
Yeah.
So instead of becoming this like, I've got to get the next transaction, you get to focus on like, how do I take care of this person in the best way? Because the result will take care of itself.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's such a freeing feeling to be on that side of it. And I've done a ton of work to get there, but being on that side of it, I get just like, I don't have a ton of business right now, and I'm not scared because I know I'm, you know, having the right conversations, doing the right things, getting out there and interacting with the right people, and it'll be taken care of when it needs to be taken care of. And so being able to connect with that is such a fun, it's actually way more fun to do the job than trying to hustle for the next transaction. So
right. Yeah. I don't ever want to feel like I'm just, you know, like you said, chasing the next lead or transaction or, you know, just spinning my wheels. I truly enjoy learning about people and their journey and, you know, wherever I can do to help them, because a lot of times I think, and I'm sure you're going to hear this, or you've heard it many times, is people are listening to the wrong people and they don't really know what they're doing. They don't know that you can't afford to buy a house, or right now actually isn't the best time for you because you need to save more. You need to, you know, build your credit up. I'm sure you've had plenty of those conversations with people on each end.
Yeah, and it's you know, that's part of the journey piece, and you know, that's where the name for One Man's Journey came in, was like we all have our own kind of journey, and I enjoy allowing space for those men to kind of get out there and be able to tell that story and really show that journey. And the same thing on the Reconnect piece is getting agents out there to be like, okay, like you think, you know, I get it a lot where, because one of the questions I ask when they sign up for the podcast is, what is your what is your purpose if you were asked to put it into one sentence? And a lot of times it goes to have the best transaction, or to do a smooth transaction. It's like, that's your core purpose of the business. Like, let's dig in a little bit, right? And so, you know, it's as simple, like if you're on your own doing this, you know, a lot of times people can't afford a coach, obviously, especially if you're new in the business or don't have a whole lot of stuff. But the purpose becomes like, how many different levels can you ask yourself to go down from that, of why? So you start here and ask yourself the next one, and then you're going to get an answer, and that's not going to be it. And then you go down one more and one more and one more. And I encourage to try to go at least 5, 7 is the best, because you're going to get to different reasons that you didn't even know were there. And then I challenge people, a lot of times the purpose gets to be like, well, I want a you know, safety for my children or consistency for my children. I don't think real estate's the answer to that. So why would you want to do real estate to try to do that, right? Like, you probably need much less money to operate and be safe for your kids than you recognize. So you've got to push past that. And a lot of people have struggles because they're like, oh, it's for my kids. Okay, one transaction's not serving your kids well, so let's go get you a job that makes you 50 grand a year, and that'll serve your kids much better than the one transaction you did last year.
And it's safe and guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, yeah. As
for the most part.
We know
until it's not, you know, but nothing,
but yeah,
nothing in life is really guaranteed, but at least you know until unless something happens. But
Yeah.
I mean, those are definitely important questions, and I don't think it's the normal or average person thinks about that. You know, why am I doing this, and is the answer really the right answer?
Yeah, and one of the cool things with that too is you can utilize that, and this is what I teach the agents, in reconnectors and lenders. I guess I keep leaving lenders out, but being able to utilize that same strategy with your clients. Because if you go through a fact-finding mission like that with your clients, one, you are connecting with something that they didn't know was there, which puts you on a different level than any other agent or lender. Two, you're doing something that literally no one else will do. No one uses the strategy of diving that deep with a client. Why do and you just challenge them and you just let them know up front, like, I'm going to challenge some of the stuff that you've been told, and I want to know where you got your information from, and I'm going to kind of help you re-educate you and say, this probably isn't true. And so getting through all of that noise of, got to have the lowest interest rate. Well, sometimes the lowest interest rate isn't the best loan. Sometimes that's not the best product.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can push past that and go, okay, well, where'd you hear that information? Now you're finding out what their source is. And then you can kind of talk through it like, okay, well, I understand that you would believe that because all of the marketing is around having the best interest rates. That's why LendingTree was created, was to get you the best interest rate. It doesn't work that way. It's not always the best product. So, you'll be able to push through some of that stuff. And as a real estate agent, if you're able to do that on the selling side, I mean, that blows everybody out of the water. Well, why do you want to sell? Well, we want a bigger house. Okay, well, why do you want a bigger house? Well, we're going to have, we've got 2 kids on the way. Okay, so now you've got a question. You didn't have to ask, are you pregnant? Right? Like, you got to ask, you got to ask a question, and then they answered a different question for you. And so you're able to kind of bring all of those things in, and you just keep asking why. And until they go, all right, Ryan, I get it. Like, we're trying to get somewhere, they kind of push back a little bit. But,
sometimes you want to put this big, huge lump sum down, and it puts them in a worse situation than keeping the money and investing in a different way, or different.
Yeah, I just had a client. I know that, like, with that experience, I just had a client that we worked through, and it was as simple, like, to the starting the conversation. He's got about 15 grand in credit card debt. They're getting a tax return of 15,000. They have the money in a retirement account to be able to use for the down payment kind of thing, and it all would work out in how they wanted to do it. Well, we talked through, it's like, okay, go ahead, use that 15 grand to pay off the credit card debt, because that makes a lot of sense, right? We're eliminating 30% interest rates at this point. Also, he was talking, like, they had the opportunity of, do I go under contract at 185 or 185,000 and get 5,000 in closing costs, or do I take it at 180 because I want the lower price? Well, okay, let's walk through it. And so we walked through it, and $5,000 made a lot more sense to put towards a loan that only had $4,500 left. That was a $600 a month payment to save them $600 versus putting it towards the loan and saving yourself $25 a month. Like, money now is so much more valuable, and people aren't having those second level conversations. And I even I copied the agent. I was like, look, no one in your local market is having this conversation with your client. And this is why you have to send them to somebody that knows what they're doing.
1,000%. Absolutely. Because, and that's what I tell people. What's more important to you, having that extra money in your pocket that's actually going to save you, or you want to feel like you got something at that lower price? Because you're looking at that. I'm like, it doesn't make a difference to the seller. I can tell you that. They're still netting the same amount, however you structure it. So I'm like, I always tell them what I would do. I'm like, to me, that $5,000 that you can, keep in your bank account or use, for whatever, I'm like, that's more valuable right there.
Yeah, just being able to have that extra money, especially buying a house. I mean, we all know nothing, even getting an inspection and having an amazing inspection, and you come out the other side and then the door falls off the hinge and you're like, what the hell? Like, I don't have any money to fix it because I just put it all into the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's a common scenario.
Anything.
Yeah.
And it always happens like a week after closing, and, everything was fine and until it wasn't.
Yeah,
but
that makes it
ownership,
Yeah, it's always just having those higher level, deeper conversations with the clients, and I would, anybody watching that's in real estate, 100% encourage you to do that. And anybody who's watching that has a loan officer or a realtor that's not having those conversations, we're out there. Like
Yeah.
we're having those conversations. So find somebody that really wants to take care of you. And, you know, especially, you know, and I know, Lindsay, you do this in the mortgage world. It's not just about managing that time frame and managing their money for this much time. It's managing the debt long term and showing them what's an opportunity out there. Not everybody understands what a home equity line of credit is. And not everybody understands, like, oh, I got a 2% rate, I can't access my equity. Well,
Right.
there's a lot of options out there to access your equity without touching that 2% and keeping that low payment. And we don't have to take you into a 7 or 8% market right now. There's ways around that. And then we talk about that down the line when we get back in the 4 range, and then the rate makes more sense to put them together.
Correct.
So, you know, there's so many options out there that people just don't know about. And that if you consider yourself a professional at the top of the market and you're not educating through video and not being on social media, educating every single day, you're not as good as you think you are.
To answer the question that they have that they don't know that they have.
Right. Yeah.
Well, most people, I think, are thinking inside of a really tiny little box, and you know what they've seen or what they've heard. I mean, I think one of the common ones is, all right, I need to put 20% down. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Or the one that got a mortgage 10 years ago, and mortgages are not the same 10 years ago as they are today. They're completely different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Everything changes all the time. And my favorite start of a sentence generally is in a vacuum, because if you put the house purchase in a vacuum, what you're saying makes complete sense. Yes, you are correct. You want the lowest interest rate at the lowest cost 100% of the time if you're only talking about the mortgage. But you're missing out on all the other debt that you have. Like, you're carrying $6,000 on a credit card, and you could put down less money and only pay $20 more a month. That over time, that money just balances out super easily, right? Like, it takes many months, 300 months to break even when you're saving $20. Like, put the money towards the 6K, pay it off. Now you don't have any credit card debt, and now you've got a house. So now you've got that emergency fund again, worst case, with a credit card. Like, you got to go fix $1,000 repair on your car. You've got the card to be able to buy yourself 30 days to find the money. It's just, there's so many strategies out there that people are just not talking about.
Or take that money you're paying on that credit card and apply it to the principal of your mortgage and take time off at the end of the mortgage.
Yeah, I mean, that's like there's so many strategies to be able to utilize just a little bit of extra money that people are just like burying in a lunch once a month. Like, you go out and have a sandwich, and if you put that, you know, towards something else, like it's all about managing the whole picture. And a lot of people are so much like we talked about the transaction. They're not managing the whole picture. They're only managing that blip in time that just, and they're just not serving the client the way that they should be.
Yeah, well, because you want to make sure you're not setting your client up for failure. You know, that would be just horrific to get a call a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, and being in, because, you know, we didn't have these conversations and they weren't prepared for their taxes going up, or they weren't prepared for, I don't know, they never homestead and just anything. And they're like, we have to sell because we have no choice. Like, we can't afford our mortgage anymore. We bit off more than we could chew, you know. Thankfully, I've never had any of those calls, but it's just, I think that a lot of, you know, people, lenders and agents, just aren't educated in having these conversations with their clients and making sure they are making the right decision, and maybe not purchasing at the very, very tippy top of their budget. So,
Well, that's the key word that you said, is educate, and you're educating, you know, your client. They don't know. They don't do this every day. We do. That's our job.
right.
Yeah, the biggest one there that comes to mind is the escrow adjustment, or the, you know, the increase in property taxes that happens in Florida so often because of the property tax laws, right? Like, they're able to artificially be held low for years. And like, my neighbor right now in St. Pete pays $216 a year in taxes.
Mhm.
$216 a year. So you go look at that house and you're like, awesome, 216. Nope. When you buy it at 300 grand, it's going to be $3,000 in taxes, not 200. And like, lenders are just like, oh, you can be approved for that. Go ahead and do that. It's like, God, like, there's so much more out there to talk about. And it's just, it's not always about education on the lending side or the real estate side for the individual, right? Like, I don't have to re-educate myself on a lot of this stuff. It's just basic conversations to make sure that the person understands what they're buying into.
Mm-hmm.
And it's your job as a professional to make sure that they understand. It's not their job to know that they understand.
Right.
Because when they know they understand, they're probably not understanding what you're actually saying. So you have to make sure that you're taking it that step farther of like, if you don't understand this, please tell me, because I don't want you coming back to me in 3 months and going, we never had this conversation when we had this conversation.
Right. Yeah. I beat it into my clients' heads, especially when I look at a property and I'm like, oh, they're only paying like $400 a year in taxes. That's not going to be what you are paying. And I can tell you that for 1000% fact, because you're paying, like you said, 300,000 for this house. This person has owned it for 20 years and paid 40, so they're going to go up.
Yeah. We just had a seller. We have a buyer looking at a house that a seller has to sell because their property taxes, it's on the East Coast, but they went from $2,200 a month or $2,200 a year to $9,200 a year. He's moved 5 people in to help afford the mortgage, and he just doesn't want to do it anymore. So literally it's a 6-bedroom house. He has people living in every single room because he has to rent the rooms out to be able to afford the fact that his cost went up $7,000 a year. And then obviously with everything else going up, he just doesn't have the money to do it. So he had to move people in. Like, that's insane.
How does that even happen? He didn't homestead his property or something?
I'm sure the real estate agent didn't tell them, or they bought like slightly after the first of the year. So the homestead didn't take in effect until this year. But I mean, that adjustment is real. Like if you buy, that person, like we just talked about, that the person that he bought it from may have owned it since 1994, and they only increase at 3% a year at that point. And then the value of the house triples. And so the taxes triple. And, we had an adjustment on the rental property we bought. We went in, it was $1,200 a year for taxes, and now it's $3,600. Like that kind of hurts on a monthly payment. So
it does. It really does.
Yeah, it's and I know they're exploring. There's some new stuff on the horizon that I'm pretty excited about for property taxes in Florida, and they're exploring giving higher level exemptions for people that are primary residents. And if you're 65 and older, they're giving possibly up to 250,000 exemptions so that people can retire here and own condos that are worth less than 250 and not have to pay any property taxes at all. So it's kind of fighting back against the insurance and the HOA increases that have happened recently. So there's some cool stuff that are possibly going through legislation soon that may help with that stuff.
That's exciting. And I know that we have more insurance companies re-entering into Florida, which is going to help rates in general, because now there's more competition and it's not just citizens, because you're either citizens or if you qualify for another company, they're like $10,000 a year for insurance, whether you're in a flood zone or not. And citizens is like $3,000. It's a kind of a no-brainer. So, I think that over the next year or so, we're going to start seeing some more leveled out pricing for homeowners insurance. And if these things pass through legislation for the taxes, it's going to bring Florida back down to a little bit more affordable, hopefully.
Yeah, and ultimately, like if there's professionals watching, if you're going to do one thing to re-engage your clients, utilize the other professions to do it. I mean, like as a real estate agent, you can offer a lot of insight throughout the life, and you can offer, bringing them into your environment and having events and all of that stuff. But the aspect of the money piece, like you're kind of out of it, right? Like after the transaction, like there's not a whole, you can't go back and negotiate and say, well, this was messed up, so you owe us $5,000. Like there's just none of that going on, right? But what you can do is leverage your relationships with great insurance agents or great mortgage lenders that have the products that can offer some kind of financial relief, especially right now. So being out there, like if you're taking one thing away and you want to say, how do I re-engage my clients? It's, hey, I've got a great insurance guy. Let's talk about shopping your insurance. Do you have any credit card debt? Because I bet you have equity. If you bought more than a year ago, you've got some equity. Let's talk about tapping into that equity and saving you some money on your credit cards instead of running out and having these 30% interest rates. There's ways to save you money. And so as a real estate agent, that's how you can offer value in between the transactions, is really just re-engaging and saying, like, I can save you money by introducing you to this person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had those conversations, especially, after the first of the year. And, a lot of people reached out and said, oh my gosh, we had an escrow shortage and this is how much my payment went up. So I'm like, okay, let's relax, take a deep breath. What can we do? Where can we save? Because I'm like, I had the same thing. We've been in my house for, years. So I don't really know what happened there, but it just, I think maybe with insurance or something, I'm not really sure. But I'm like, I understand. I'm like, I'm going through the same thing. Let's just see where we can save you money, and let's, get you talking to, a mortgage professional, and, um, you know, just sit tight, and rates are coming down soon, and maybe we have a refinance in your future, maybe in like the next 6 months, but just hunker down.
Yeah, it's there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot out there, and it's a great way as an agent, like I said, to A, re-engage, and B, like now you're passing out referrals, because you could, if they need a new roof to get the insurance policy down, now you go introduce them to a contractor. Like there's so many different ways, financial advisor, like having these people in your stable as a real estate agent is crucial, because it gives you a easy re-engagement point at multiple points throughout the in-between of the transaction.
Yeah.
And what they're going to do is be like, oh, I want you to call Kayla because she just introduced me to this great contractor, got us a new roof. It saved us $4,000 on insurance every month. I want you to go talk to Lindsay because she introduced me to a great real estate agent. I didn't really need the real estate agent. I just wanted to see what my house was worth. But then I introduced her to somebody else. Like it's just such a chain of introduction, and being able, that's that connected piece, and being able to, really create the circles of impact instead of just calling all of your places different referral sources. You can bring them all in to be in one circle.
Yeah, and I think that's the best, because especially if your people that are within your circle, whether it's a roofer or a contractor, it makes me feel good because I know that person is being taken care of. I'm not just like throwing out people's names willy-nilly or anything, but it's nice to know that, one, they're being taken care of, and then you're helping your friend out, because they're a good company, and going back to your client or your friend client, they're being taken care of. I hate when I see people asking online, and I'm like, guys, you should just ask me. And so that way you don't have to sift through 100 comments and 100 different people and be like, well, I don't know which one to go to.
Yeah, and that's that important piece of and I've been a victim of my own misdoing here of following and really like re-engaging with database and stuff like that as an agent as well. Like that's important, right? Because even if they go past they buy a house, well, then you think, well, they don't need any of my information about buying a house anymore. Well, there may still be something they want to know, and maybe they're like, oh, I want to move, but I don't know how to do it. And then you give them some information of like, here's this great program that might be out there, or here's an opportunity in a certain area that they didn't even know about. It's so important to continue to engage and just give information, because you just don't know who's going to need it. And so utilizing that aspect is such a great way to do it. And when you start to see your clients posting on social, you're like, damn it, I didn't do my job well enough. I got to get back out there and really like, okay, I got to start pushing some information to my people so that they know I'm the person to call when it comes time to need something around their house, or in the even in the community, just any aspect. Like, call me for everything, because I know everybody.
Right. And if I don't know somebody, I know somebody that does know somebody. Because if I need something, I'm like, okay, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to call so-and-so, because I know that they know everybody. They know more people than I do, and they're going to know the right person for me to go and talk to for this issue that I'm having.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Well, I love your green background, by the way. Green's my favorite color.
Yeah, Puerto Rico, we've got some fun stuff down here. We kind of dove all into the Puerto Rico theme, and this is the avocado room. We've got the banana room next door, and the sunset room is the third bedroom down here. So we've got all three of those, and they all have their own theme. And if I slide just to my left, those are the avocado curtains.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, cool.
So
I have an avocado blanket. I used to have two, but my dog chewed up one, but I have an avocado blanket. I think it's a Christmas one. So there's like avocados with Christmas hats all over it.
Yeah, we have some fun here. It's kind of our place to, like, everybody kind of wants to build that house or do the things at the house, and they're like, what's the resale value? We're just like, we don't really care about the resale value. We just want to have some fun down here. So we're just like, let's do what we want to do. We got an outdoor shower. We've got a hammock in the back. We're just like, if we can think about it, we're like, yeah, let's do that. So it's
that is so fun.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I thought that maybe was like a green screen or something back behind you.
No, I painted it just the wrong color. I can't even use it as a green screen. Yeah, it's tough. I had to wear my green light shirt today, obviously, as the mortgage guy hiding in there.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, green on green. And it's funny because we've been here for a couple weeks now, and we bring down clothes, and basically all that's left in my closet is all the green shirts, because I do this every day and I can't generally wear a green shirt when the background is that green. So I have to I left all my green shirts until now, and that's all I got left. So now I got to start wearing my green shirt.
Yeah, no, I love it. Green's my favorite color. I have a green shirt on.
Nice.
But it's freezing here, so I have a jacket on too. But
yeah, it's 85 and sunny every day, so that's what we get down here.
That sounds amazing. We went on a cruise
55 today here.
Yeah, we went on a cruise a couple weeks ago, and we came back to the cold weather, but we were in the Caribbean, and I was like, oh, this is beautiful weather. It was so hot. The water was like 80 degrees, and then we came back, and then we were like shivering.
Yeah, that's my wife is actually back in St. Pete this week, so she's telling me all about the colder weather, and I'm just like, well, it's same as always here. So I'll welcome you back on Friday.
I'm living in paradise.
We're supposed to be living in paradise. We didn't go far enough.
It's coming. You'll be like, man, I wish it was 55. Like 2 months from now.
Like, we'll be hot.
Us Florida people, we're just never happy with the weather.
We got to
Our
complain
weather's
about
bipolar, though. We'll say that.
Yeah,
well,
cold 1 minute and 90 the next.
Being from Minnesota, I will argue that Florida is so much more consistent. But like Minnesota, I remember last year, we still have some family that lives up there, and they had 70 degrees, and then it snowed like 14 inches, like 2 days later. And then 6 days after that, it was 80 degrees. So my little nephew, like all the snow had melted off the roads, but there were still snow piles behind him. He was in his swimsuit running through the sprinkler with a snow pile behind him.
Well, yeah, I could see how that's very, very inconsistent and confusing.
Yeah, and that's why, that's like you just keep getting sick, because it's just up and down, and you just don't, like, your body doesn't know what to do. So
yeah, that's crazy. So on top of mortgage, you coach also. You coach agents and lenders, right?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
so it's really based around a lot of the mindset stuff and getting connected to that core purpose. And on the deeper side, we go as deep as meditation or grounding, and all of that stuff are kind of in our daily disciplines of becoming a person of, we like to say, a person of the divine, and just really listening to that intuition. It's something you really have to foster over time. It's true, if you don't use it, you lose it, kind of thing. And but you lose it only here. It's never gone. It's just you're not listening to it. And so that's really kind of how I've been living in 24. It's been a lot of fun, because I'm just, if there's a decision to be made, I'm not like analyzing or over analyzing any of the statistics or facts around it. It's really just kind of like sitting with myself and letting whatever feel comes in of like, yep, I should do that, or no, I shouldn't. And once you can foster that and trust that, it takes off in the business. People want to be around you because they understand, like, what's coming, which direction to go, you understand how that works. And so that's really what Reconnect is all about, is being able to help. We call it coaching only because that's what everybody understands, and it kind of fits in a box a little bit, but really it's just guiding and helping you understand what you are about. And it's really because of it was kind of created. Katrina Mosley is my partner, and she had the idea funnel through her in a meditation practice, and she's been looking for a lender and a male, because she wants have the masculine and the feminine in the business, and she's been looking or just waiting for the right one to come along for over a year. And we randomly connected on Facebook, because I create connections on Facebook, and she reached out and she's like, hey, I have an idea. And we got on a Zoom, and the first 45 minutes of the Zoom call, we didn't talk anything about business. It was like, let's establish who we are and connect to each other first. And then she's like, okay, I'm comfortable now. And then just like it came out. So it was really great to make that connection that way. And that's kind of how we're fostering it through Reconnect as well, is having that podcast piece, being able to connect on a deeper level. I like the state now of, I don't do coffee, I do content, because coffee for me is just such a surface level activity. And you're always just like entering into that conversation, and you have your guard up of like, oh yeah, I did this many transactions, or this is the business I do. And you kind of have that, like, almost like you have to brag a little bit. The podcast kind of cuts through all of that and lets us get to the real conversations. And so that's kind of how I'm utilizing the podcast, is to introduce people to the concept of like, let's get past the fact, like, we don't have to go out and pretend like we're celebrities. We don't have to go out and drive in these nice cars. We can be ourselves and people will connect to that. But you have to allow yourself to really be a little bit vulnerable and allow your soul to come out for somebody to grab onto it. Because if you're hiding it, they're never going to find it. And then you're going to close 0 or 1 transactions in a year. So.
And people appreciate you when you're yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. They don't give a what you drive.
It's scary because a lot of times, like, and I, myself included, you're afraid of losing even the little bit you have. And so I like to kind of do some visual stuff. I know if this is if someone's listening to it, not watching it, they won't be able to see any of the visual stuff I do. But like when you're not connected, you're constantly just grabbing what's near you and you're short arming because you're just like, I want this stuff. And then you bring it in and you cross your arms over your chest because you got to protect what you just grabbed. And there's an opportunity that's maybe like 2 rungs up on the ladder, but you can't reach that high because you have to hold on to what you have. And so once you let that stuff go, it allows you to fully reach up and grab what's actually out there for you. And yeah, you're going to lose some stuff, but it was stuff that wasn't meant for you anyway. And so like being able to understand that concept, like to the core of me right now, like that's the way that I now live my life. It's so freeing. It's like just being able to, like, if something leaves my life, it's not supposed to be here.
I love that. I love how you described it and acted it out. I love that a lot. I think that's amazing. Yeah.
So that's that's kind of what we're working on, and just being able, like, it's fun to have the little passion project for me and be able to, like, that's what feeds my soul right now. And it's fun to be in a position to be able to have that as an opportunity. And, I say that, and then on the other side, I say that everyone can have that opportunity. And especially the agents that are doing 0 to 2 transactions or 0 to 3, or even up to 1 a month. Like, worst case scenario, let's say you let go of half of those transactions, you're going to gain so much more in the long run because you're not holding on to those small transactions that are difficult. And then you go on social media and you complain about the client who called you 15 times at 9 o'clock at night because they're not the client for you, but you took them because you needed a deal. Like, there's so many things that come into play, and just being it like now, that's how I communicate with clients. Like, I will 100% get back to you. It's going to be, it may be today, it may be tomorrow, but I'm going to focus on your deal and only your deal. I'm not going to half-ass your pre-approval by trying to focus on 4 different things. When I get into my time frame, I'm going to focus on your deal, and that's it. And then so I want to give you established time instead of just quick time. I want your time to be your time. And people are so respectful of that when you set that as the guideline, and it really creates much better communication form and much better transaction flow throughout the process.
Yeah, you set the expectation, and you also set boundaries, and make sure that they know that yes, you are 100% dedicated to them, but not just sporadically. Yeah,
I can do a pre-approval in 11 minutes. It's just not exactly something I want to do every single day, because things get missed when you look that fast. And then you come back to me during the process and you're like, I told you that. And I'm like, yep, I was moving too fast and I didn't hear it. And it just gets everybody in trouble. And that's not what we want. So,
and it's not necessary. We're not in 2020 where you think you want to buy a house and then you're like, okay, I'm going to buy a house. And then one comes on the market and you need to get pre-approved because it's going to be gone in 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's definitely not that way right now. And even if it gets back to it, like, this is the movement of Reconnect, is trying to get more of the industry to operate in that way. And I think it serves clients long-term as a whole if the industry can get back to that. Yeah. Because then I'm not calling you and Kayla, I know your client just toured this home. You better get an offer in. It's got to happen now. What's the difference if you wait another 24 hours and you get 20 more offered? Like, is that bad for your seller? Why are you pushing this to be under contract in 5 days when you don't, or in 5 minutes when you don't need it to be under contract?
Right.
And everybody just wants to be able to make the damn Canva post that says I sold it in 5 minutes. Like, who cares? Like, it doesn't help you. Like, that means nothing. Like, the difference between 5 minutes and 24 hours, while sometimes it can be huge because of the scenarios we've seen, most of the time, like, I can't call somebody on a Sunday at a title company and fix something on a Sunday. So if you're bringing an issue to me, I'm going to talk you through it and help you recognize, like, that, in different words. Obviously, I'm not gonna be like, you're being emotional, but that's what that is, right? Like, we're going to be able to calm you down, kind of get you back to the facts and go, first thing tomorrow, I will reach out to the title company and we'll establish what needs to be established. And just, you know, like you said, A, it's boundaries, but B, it's also, it creates a better transaction because they don't have to worry about anything.
Right.
Because if you're educating, you're flowing, they know that you're connected to the purpose and you're operating within their best interest. Those question marks go away. They stop calling going, why don't we have this yet? They go, hey, Ryan, is there anything I can get you? Hey, Kayla, do you need anything from me? Like, they're calling you to just say, like, do you need anything, instead of where is this? And then on the professional level as well, like, I don't have agents calling me going, where's the appraisal? How is it back yet? I don't have that, because we educate up front and we show, like, this is the timeline. And as soon as I get it, you're going to be the first to know, because I'm going to hit a button in my CRM and it sends a notification to everybody that it's back.
Right.
And, you know, so we just have that set up. And, you know, that's the way that it works, is once you get connected to that, you're able to really design the way you want your process to go, instead of what you think it should be or what the client thinks it should be.
I like it. Well, I think that is it for our time. We went a little over, which is fine. We do this when we are having great conversations. I think, do you have anything else, Lindsay? Any questions that you didn't get to? Like, we can't hear you. Well, we'll just go ahead and say that you don't have any other questions. So.
If you do, send it to me and I'll make a short form video out of it, and we'll make a thing out of it, and it'll be cool. So it'll work that way. So same thing to anybody that's listening or watching. If you got any questions for me, and I know Kayla and Lindsay feel the same way about that. If you got questions, put them in the comments. We'll actually make some videos and respond to you and make sure that we're getting those questions answered.
Well, thank you so much, Ryan. This has been a true pleasure having you on, and I love our conversations, and I'd love to do this again soon.
Absolutely. Yeah. I enjoyed the format and being able to just kind of speak freely, and thanks for giving me the platform.
Absolutely. All right. Have a great day, guys.
You as well.
Bye.